This is the Taurus G3X. It's a little compact gun with a full-size grip, so you get a good grip on things. Taurus G3X has a capacity of 15 rounds, of course, plus one in the chamber. So I have never fired this before. However, this one does belong to Josh over at Black Diamond Guns and Gear. He's fired this a bunch without any issues. I'm gonna take his word for that. That being said, I'm gonna do a little test for myself and to see how things feel, see how the recoil impulse is, how shootable the gun is. We're gonna look at the price point, and we're gonna see, is this actually a good option for a concealed carry or CCW? So, all right, let's shoot it. Let's shoot. Doesn't feel too bad. Not half bad. There's a little bark to it, but really not too much bite. So right behind me, that's the Shooting Targets USA triple threat target. I've got another 15 rounds loaded up with the G3X. So we're gonna go ahead and smack that triple threat target. Let's see if we can't make those paddles bounce around a little bit. By the way, so that triple threat target, I do have a discount code MrBigKid. I have it in the description below if you wanna check these targets out. 15% off using my code and link. So anyways, let's shoot it. Let's shoot. Yeah, so that target's about 10 yards away. Oh, that's nice. So the sights on this gun they work just fine. It has a very Glock-like sight. All right, so on the back, you have a standard flat serrated rear sight, and then you have a thick white dot for the front sight. So even though that sight post in the front is very Glock-like, it actually works pretty well. They're low profile sights, and this thing does not have an optic cut, so I don't really care as much with the low profile sights. I typically like the higher profile sights when there's an optic cut, because it gives you the option of doing like a co-witness type thing. But if there's no optic for this thing, then low profile works just fine. Again, that recoil impulse on this guy is not bad at all. It's very comfortable. It doesn't jump all that much, and that's great. So I'm probably gonna equate that to the really good stippling. I've always wondered why companies don't just stipple the entire grip, but I get it. Everybody kind of wants to have their own look and their own style. That being said, this stippling is actually very effective. It's very grippy. It grabs your hands very good. It's like that sandpaper style texturing. So even though there's, I want to call them, I guess, grip pods on there, or texture pods, because they're just kind of sprinkled throughout, you do have very effective stippling on your back strap, and then you have very effective stippling on your front strap as well. And in the sides, they're just a little bonus. As far as a slide hold open and slide release, it feels like it sticks out just perfectly, not too far, not too close, so you can activate it nice and easily. Magazine release isn't quite an extended magazine release, but it's not going to get in the way. I know sometimes if you have an extended mag release, you can have issues with dropping your mags, accidentally bumping it with your other support hand, something like that. Even though there's nothing too much to grab onto with your support hand on this guy, I will say, due to the big grip, you do have a little indent right here on the frame that does support your forward thumb on your support hand, and then you have a one slot pick rail. So even though there's no texturing or anything for your support hand, I don't find myself milking this grip. It's just a very comfortable shooting gun. So the fact that you don't have to constantly milk the grip, the fact that you don't need any additional texturing, ledges, gas pedals, anything like that to get a good grip on this. So far, surprisingly, it's actually a really good shooter. And the reason I say surprising is because I know Taurus kind of gets a lot of pushback. You know, I have fired the G2C. The G2C, though it seemed to be a good gun, it did seem to be a little spicier and jump a little harder than this guy. So the fact that the G3X seems like a pretty big upgrade. They do offer this guy an optics ready version as well. So one thing, and I know some people love it and some people hate it, I'm a little mixed on it, and to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't hate it, but I'm not a huge fan of it. But if it's feature to feature, no biggie. It has a second strike capability. So basically, right here you have your trigger, and even though it's unloaded, uncocked, you can squeeze your trigger and it actually pulls that striker back and it restrikes. So if you have a light primer strike, you can squeeze that trigger again and you might get a detonation. The problem is, the reason I'm not a huge fan of it is I don't want to get used to a feature that's not standard or typical on a lot of other guns. Now, I shoot a lot of guns, most of which do not have a second strike capability. So in the past, if you have a failure of any kind, what I do is, you know, let's say you're shooting, right? You're shooting and you have no strike, drop the mag, rack it, put the mag in, chamber it, and that's it. Then you fire it. The problem is, if you get the muscle memory of constantly trying to squeeze a trigger, sometimes in a self-defense situation, seconds count, milliseconds count. So I don't want to get the muscle memory of squeezing the trigger multiple times until something goes off. That's just me. Just because that's my preference doesn't mean it's not a good feature. Some people argue, they've argued with me on this, and they love the second strike. There's a Canic model, the DA, that does that as well. That's fine. Personally, just not a fan. According to Josh, he's put a lot more rounds through this thing than I have. This is the same exact gun. He's had no failures with it. Taurus G3X is the meat and potatoes of a defensive firearm. It's not made for competition. This particular model is the non-optics ready one. You have a little bit of serration going on in the front, and you have some serrations going on in the back. This thing fires when you squeeze the trigger. Has the second strike capability if that's something that you like. And the trigger doesn't feel too bad. Now the trigger's a little mushy. So the problem with second strike is they tend to give you a very long reset. So the reset's not horrible. It's a little long. You have to lift your finger off a little far to get that reset down, which is all right. But you do have the second strike capability. Again, it's a defensive firearm, not a competition firearm. So this is something that the cost point is pretty low. These are pretty affordable firearms. Tauri is well known for being affordable. So if this is something you're looking for, not a bad option. Taurus G3X has a full-size grip. Stippling's in the right spot. The stippling feels good. The trigger's all right, very shootable gun. So you have a full-size grip, like I said, compact slide, easy to conceal still. So all that being said, it's not fun, it's not exciting, but it gets the job done. So if this is something you're looking for, something that will protect you, hope you all like this video about the Taurus G3X. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you guys later.